Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time coming across this channel, thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate it. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for always coming back to watch my videos. Thank you and God bless you. In today's video, I'll be teaching us a tutorial on how to make a very nice layered skirt. This is the first part of this video, so once you are done watching this first part, please make sure you watch the second part. These are all the materials we would be using as shown on the screen. The first step of this tutorial is to make the upper part of the skirt. And in making the upper part of this skirt, we would be using a scuba material. So go ahead and draw a starting line at the top of your fabric. After drawing the starting line, go ahead and measure your waist measurement. In order to get your waist measurement, you will do your waist measurement divided by 4. Whatever you have, mark it down. After marking down your waist measurement, go ahead to add an extra inch for that and an extra 1.5 inches for allowance. So this is just me trying to show you guys the points I marked for the waist, the dart, and also the allowance. At the starting line, mark down 8.5 inches. The reason why we're marking down 8.5 inches is because that 8.5 is the point where we're going to identify where our hip line is. After marking 8.5 inches down from the starting line, go ahead and rule a straight line there. After ruling the straight line, go ahead and mark down your hip measurement on that line. To get your hip measurement, you do your hip measurement divided by 4. Whatever you have, mark that down. After marking down your hip measurement, go ahead and add 1.5 inches for allowance. The next thing we're going to do is to determine how long we want the upper part of this skirt to be. Because we're still going to cut it into a V-shaped skirt, the length I would be using for the upper part of this skirt is 20 inches. So I went ahead to mark down 20 inches. After marking the 20 inches, I drew a straight line there. After drawing the straight line at the length of the skirt, I went ahead to repeat what I had on the hip measurement on also the length of the skirt. The only difference was that I minused 1 inch. After marking the point at the length of the skirt, I went ahead to connect all the points together from the waist to the hip and also the length of the skirt. Guys, because our hip is not straight, go ahead and make that hip area a little bit curvy. After that, the next thing to do is to cut out the front pattern of the skirt. The next thing to do right now is to make the back piece of the skirt. Making the back piece of this skirt is so easy. The only difference between the front and the back is the zip allowance. Go ahead and adjust the front piece of your skirt like this. The reason why we're adjusting it like this is for us to give the back piece 2 extra inches for zip allowance. Make sure that the 2 inches is accurate. As you can see here, I'm trying to make sure that the 2 inches is accurate. So I kept adjusting and adjusting until I got the correct 2 inches. After giving the back piece of the skirt extra 2 inches for zip allowance, the next thing to do is to cut it out. So just as I am doing here, cut yours like that too. After cutting the back piece, go ahead and remove the front piece away from the back piece because we are going to cut the back piece into 2. So go ahead and take your scissors and slash the back piece into 2. So this is just me trying to show you guys that for the back piece, I have 2 fabrics, and for the front piece, I have just 1, making it a total of 3 fabrics. The next thing to do right now is to make points for the darts on the skirt. So place your front piece and your back piece together just as I am doing here. If you notice, I did not place the front piece of the skirt at the extreme end of the back piece of the skirt is because that place was left out for zip allowance. So go ahead and mark down 4 inches. The reason why we're marking down 4 inches is because that is how far the distance is meant to be from the beginning of the skirt. After marking down 4 inches, add an extra inch at the back. The reason why we're adding an extra inch at the back is because of how wide we want the dart to be. So this is just me trying to show you guys how wide the distance of the dart is going to be after I added an extra inch at the back of the 4 inches. After doing that, I just made little notches at the dart point. So guys, go ahead to your sewing machine and sew your dart at the wrong side of the skirt. Do this for both the front piece and the back piece of your skirt. Make sure that you are sewing 4 darts in total, 2 for the front piece of the skirt and 2 for the back piece of the skirt. After sewing my darts, this is what it looks like, and I believe yours should be looking like this too. The next thing to do right now is to measure how long you want the zip to be. I want my zip to be 9 inches long, so I marked down 9 inches. After making the point of 9 inches, I rule a straight line up because I know that place is going to serve as where my zip is going to stay. So for the remaining part of the back piece of the skirt that I am touching, I'm going to go ahead to my sewing machine and close it up. After closing it up, this is what it should look like. Please guys, do not be confused and do the mistake of closing the zip part of the skirt instead of closing the extra part of the back piece of the skirt. So guys, the next thing to do right now is to place the front piece of the skirt on the back piece of the skirt and mark your original measurements for your waist and also your hip. So starting from the waistline, I'll be marking down my waist measurement, which is 6.5 inches. And also come down by 8.5 inches. In order to indicate where my hip line is and mark down my hip measurements there. So this is just me showing you guys my waist measurement and also my hip measurement. The next thing to do right now is to connect the points together. From the waist measurement to the hip measurement down to the length of the skirt. The next thing to do right now is to make the hip area a little bit curvy. The reason why we're making it a little bit curvy is because our hips are not straight. The next thing to do right now is to repeat what you just did on the front piece of the skirt and also the back piece of the skirt. After doing that, go ahead to your sewing machine and sew the sides of the skirt together. After sewing the sides of the skirt together and turning it over to the right side, this is what it looks like, and I believe yours should be looking like this too. The next thing to do right now is to hem the top of the skirt. So go ahead to your sewing machine and hem the top of the skirt. After you must have hemmed the top of the skirt, go ahead and fix your zip to the back of the skirt. So this is just me trying to show you guys how the skirt is looking like so far, from the sides of the skirt to me hemming the top of the skirt and me fixing the zip to the skirt. Guys, if you notice that I changed the color of my zip, it's because I made a mistake by cutting my former zip, so it became useless. So we have gotten to the most important part of making the upper part of this skirt. What do I mean by the most important part? The most important part for the upper part of the skirt is to create a V shape that will be at the front of the skirt. So from your starting line, go ahead and mark down 12 inches. After marking down 12 inches, at that point, indicate where the middle part is. So what I'm just doing here right now is that after I placed my tape rule on that 12 inches that I came down by, at that point, for me to indicate where the middle part was, I just bent my tape rule which was much easier and faster for me. After indicating where the middle part is, go ahead and take your ruler and make a slant line to connect to that middle part, and do that on the left side of the skirt and also the right side of the skirt. After doing mine, this is what it looks like, and I believe yours should be looking like this too after doing the same thing. So the next thing to do right now is to carefully cut out the excess part of the skirt. After cutting out the excess part of the skirt, that would be the end of the first part of this tutorial. So please make sure that after watching the first part, please also watch the second part too. See you guys in the second part of this tutorial. I love you guys so much. Stay blessed.